Hi and welcome to the Success Mindset YouTube channel, and we're joined again by our good friend Jeremy Lazarus. Thank you for joining us, Jeremy.
Pleasure.
So today we're going to be talking about understanding motivation, and motivation is a key concept in our videos because without motivation you really don't get the impetus to drive forward and execute in your life. And Jeremy is writing a book at the moment, I know, around success, and I know a huge part of what you do in your coaching, Jeremy, is around getting people to execute and be motivated, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And I mean, when you're looking at self-change, I mean, this is quite a basic question, but it's something that probably people don't think about. When you're looking at self-change, why is motivation so important to people?
Because it gives a sense of drive. And it gives the impetus. So ideally, when you're setting goals, which is obviously essential for any form of success, if the goals give you more of what's really, really important to you in that particular area of your life, so let's say we're talking about work or business goals, if achieving those goals gives you more of what's really important to you in your work, in the area of work and career, then that's going to motivate you to really do what it takes to achieve that goal. I think it's Tony Robbins who says if people have got enough reasons, they'll do just about anything. And I think it's true. You see some amazing, if you watch and read, you see amazing stories of people who are really motivated to do something, and they do amazing things. I remember doing some research for one of the books I wrote, that there was a lady, I think her first name was Angela, in 1982, I think it was, an ordinary lady. Her son was doing some work underneath the car, and the jack collapsed. And she, an ordinary lady, lifted up the car enough so that one of the neighbours could pull her son out for safety. She had the motivation. Now, I know that's an extreme example, an extreme case, and it illustrates the point that if people are motivated enough, they're much more likely to achieve their goals.
Absolutely. And it is finding that why, isn't it? It is finding something that is going to push you there.
Yes.
And, you know, I know earlier we spoke about my running in another one of our videos. And the reason I started running was, you know, it wasn't to get fit. It wasn't for anything else. It's because, you know, there's heart disease runs in my family. And I want to see my little girls grow up. And my motivation was to not necessarily get fit. It was to make sure I'm there, walking them down the aisle at their weddings, to be there throughout their lives.
And it's a really interesting point, the fact that your motivation wasn't just about you personally, it extended to other people. So it's more than just motivation. It's almost like a purpose or part of your mission.
Yeah. Other
people are involved. And to an extent, I think if people can tie what they want to how it benefits other people who are important to them, then again, that can provide an additional layer of motivation.
Fantastic. And, you know, something that often comes up, and I don't think it's talked an awful lot about in coaching necessarily, but, you know, people that we love and have around us can obviously help us on to goals, but there's also a lot of people well-meaning that might try and talk us out of doing things that they might perceive as risky or dangerous. You know, there is the perception that, you know, people will collude with people and say, you know, you were done wrong to, oh, it's okay not to follow through on that. It's okay. You know, they collude with you not executing, not doing what you need to do. How big a problem is that? And what would you say to someone that might have people in their lives colluding with them, which is making not follow through?
Well, I mean, I don't know how big a problem it is sort of in society, but it's certainly, I've heard what you've just said quite often. In terms of what someone can do, I think it's about recognizing that firstly, the people who are doing that are doing it normally because they love the person. They don't want them to be harmed in some way or disappointed or upset. Yeah. And I think it's about being strong enough internally to have a big enough sense of purpose, have a goal that's motivating enough to be able to go on one's own path and still be respectful and thank the people close to them for their love and good intentions, and this is my path. I'm going to go my path.
And when, you know, so we know our own motivations, and obviously when we move through to execute, it might impact other people. We might need to rely on other people as well to help us get there. So what's the importance of understanding other people's motivations as we move through?
I think it's probably the most important communication and influencing skill there is. If we can understand what's important to other people in a particular context. So let's take it into the workplace. Let's take a meeting about a particular project. If you know what's important to the other people, the key decision makers about that project, and you can demonstrate how your suggestion will help them to have what's important to them about the project fulfilled, then you're much more likely to be able to influence them to take on board your ideas. So in terms of inverted commas selling, and what I'm not just talking about selling as in a shop. We all sell. We have to sell and influence ideas, persuade, if you like. Doctors persuade their patients to take the medication or do the rehabilitation exercises. And if they can find out, like what you've just said about your, wanting to see your children grow up, if a doctor knew about that, about your motivation, he or she could couch their advice or suggestions in terms of what's important to you.
So you've talked about the goals and the importance of having goals that really resonate, really mean something at a deep level for the person. And are there any other tips or tools that you could say to people to help maybe increase their motivation? Or if someone's sitting at home thinking, God, you know what, I really need to get up and start exercising, or do that job application, or do that course, or ask that girl on a date, or whatever it might be. What would you say?
Okay. There's a few points here, David. I could spend forever talking about this, but let me just keep it fairly briefly. So there's a couple of aspects of motivation that are particularly relevant for this point. One is, if you like, the pain or pleasure, or in NLP we call it away from and towards, or the stick and the carrot. So sometimes to initiate someone to take action, there needs to be a strong enough away from, or the pain needs to be great enough. So maybe to think, what would happen if I don't do this? Mm-hmm. What are the bad things that would happen if I don't do it? And then what are the things that I would love to happen if I do it? That's one way of looking at it. I think another approach, and I often use this with clients around career choices, for example, or people talking about life, big picture life goals, is I ask people to go forward in their mind to certain key points. It could be 5 years in the future, 10 years. It could be to the point of their retirement. It could even be to the point of their death. Let's say when they're 100, looking back, having had an amazingly fulfilling career, or in the case of someone's life, an amazingly fulfilled life. And to say what's happened, and to really feel it until it's like you almost get choked with emotion of pride and happiness. So if that's what people really want going into the future, then here they are now. What can they do now to achieve and work towards that target? One of the things that people sometimes do is they look at the present into the future when they think about setting goals. I think a more effective way can be to go into the future, create an ideal future in your mind, notice what's happening, and then bring that knowledge back to now to inform you about what actions to take now. Does that kind of make sense?
Absolutely. I'm just sitting here thinking, actually, there's a couple of bits here I could start.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's really powerful stuff.
Yeah. No, I like it. I really think that's very, very good. And it's there was a really powerful poem. I can't remember the lady that wrote it, but it's called The Dash. And it was read. I heard it read at someone's funeral, and it was about, when you look at a headstone, you see the year people are born and the year people died, but the bit that is the actual life is the dash, and what can you fit in that dash? Yeah. And it's the most amazing poem, and you've kind of, in other words, you've pretty much just said what that poem is all about.
Okay.
So that's really, really powerful. Thank you. So, I mean, that's the end of this video from the Success Mindset YouTube channel. Thank you so much to Jeremy again for joining us and talking us through on this subject of motivation. Thank you, Jeremy.
Pleasure.
And take care, everyone. Don't forget to go out, make your life a masterpiece, execute, do what you need to do, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.